Welcome to Movies Philosophy Channel. In this episode, we dive into 12 Years a Slave, 2013, directed by Steve McQueen and based on the real-life memoir of Solomon Northup, a free black man who was kidnapped and sold into slavery in the 1840s. The film is a harrowing and deeply moving portrayal of the brutality of slavery in the United States and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Let's break down the key moments, the emotional depth, and the powerful themes of survival, resilience, and the quest for freedom. 12 Years a Slave begins by introducing Solomon Northup, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, a free black man living with his wife and two children in Saratoga Springs, New York, in 1841. Solomon is an educated and talented violinist who enjoys a comfortable life in a society where slavery has been abolished in the northern states. His life, however, takes a dramatic turn when he is approached by two men, Brown and Hamilton, who offer him a lucrative opportunity to perform music in Washington, D.C. Solomon, unaware of the men's true intentions, accepts the offer and travels with them to Washington. After a night of celebration, Solomon wakes up in chains, realizing that he has been drugged, kidnapped, and sold into slavery. He is brutally beaten and stripped of his identity, with the men telling him that he is now a runaway slave from Georgia. Solomon's journey into slavery. Renamed Platt, Solomon is shipped to the South, where he is sold to a plantation owner named William Ford, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, in Louisiana. Ford is depicted as a relatively compassionate man compared to other slave owners, treating Solomon with a degree of respect and acknowledging his intelligence. Solomon uses his ingenuity to earn Ford's favor, including helping him build a waterway system on the plantation. However, despite Ford's kinder demeanor, Solomon is still regarded as property, with no rights or freedom. Solomon's time with Ford takes a dark turn when he clashes with John Tibbetts, played by Paul Dano, a cruel and sadistic carpenter who works on Ford's plantation. Tibbetts becomes increasingly hostile towards Solomon, leading to a violent confrontation where Tibbetts tries to lynch Solomon. Solomon narrowly survives, but Ford decides to sell him to another plantation owner to protect him from further violence. The brutality of slavery. Solomon's next master is Edwin Epps, played by Michael Fassbender, a notoriously cruel and violent plantation owner. Epps embodies the worst aspects of the institution of slavery, using extreme violence and psychological abuse to control his slaves. His sadism is particularly evident in his treatment of a young female slave named Patsy, played by Lupita Nyong'o, who becomes the object of both his sexual obsession and his wife's jealousy. Epps routinely rapes Patsy, and his wife, Mistress Epps, played by Sarah Paulson, responds with cruelty and scorn, further punishing Patsy for the abuse she suffers at the hands of her husband. Patsy's life on the plantation is one of relentless suffering, as she is subjected to both physical and emotional torment. Solomon, too, endures unimaginable hardships during his time on Epps's plantation. He is forced to pick cotton under the watchful eye of Epps, who whips the slaves mercilessly if they fail to meet their daily quotas. The brutal conditions, combined with Epps' volatile temper, create an atmosphere of constant fear and degradation. Patsy's suffering and Solomon's struggle for survival. One of the most heart-wrenching aspects of the film is Patsy's suffering, which serves as a stark reminder of the dehumanizing horrors of slavery. Patsy, who is known for her exceptional cotton-picking abilities, is constantly abused by Epps. Her spirit is shattered, and she begs Solomon to end her life, seeing no escape from her torment. Solomon, however, refuses, still clinging to hope that he might one day find a way to regain his freedom. In one of the film's most harrowing scenes, Patsy is viciously whipped by Epps after Mistress Epps accuses her of visiting another plantation to obtain a bar of soap. Despite Patsy's pleas for mercy, Epps forces Solomon to whip her, and when Solomon hesitates, Epps takes over, delivering the brutal punishment himself. This scene is a powerful depiction of the physical and emotional toll of slavery, highlighting the helplessness of the enslaved and the cruelty of their oppressors. Solomon's attempt to send a letter. Throughout his time in captivity, Solomon remains determined to return to his family. He forms a bond with Samuel Bass, played by Brad Pitt, a Canadian carpenter hired by Epps. Bass is outspoken in his opposition to slavery, and Solomon sees in him a potential ally. Solomon takes a tremendous risk by confiding in Bass and revealing his true identity as a free man. He asks Bass to deliver a letter to his family in New York, hoping that someone will come to his aid. Bass, moved by Solomon's plight, agrees to help him despite the danger involved. This moment represents a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak and oppressive world. Solomon's faith in Bass's integrity proves to be well placed, as Bass successfully delivers the letter, setting in motion the events that will lead to Solomon's eventual rescue. Rescue and freedom. After 12 long years of enslavement, Solomon's story reaches its climax when Henry Northup, a white abolitionist and relative of Solomon's, arrives at Epps' plantation with proof of Solomon's status as a free man. When Epps is confronted with the evidence, he is furious and refuses to acknowledge that Solomon was ever anything but a slave. However, Henry's legal documentation is irrefutable, and Solomon is finally freed from his bondage. The scene in which Solomon is reunited with Henry and leaves Epps' plantation is a powerful and emotional moment. As Solomon rides away, the other slaves watch in silence, knowing that their own fates are unlikely to change. For Solomon, the journey to regain his freedom has been long and painful, but it has finally come to an end. The return home and emotional aftermath. Solomon returns to New York, where he is reunited with his family. The emotional toll of his years in captivity is evident, as Solomon struggles to reconcile the life he once knew with the horrors he has endured. He meets his children, who have grown up in his absence, and is introduced to his grandson. The film ends with a somber note, as Solomon's ordeal is far from forgotten and the scars of slavery remain. The epilogue reveals that after regaining his freedom, Solomon took legal action against the men who kidnapped him, but he was unable to bring them to justice. Solomon also became an outspoken abolitionist, working to end slavery and sharing his story with the world through his memoir, 12 Years a Slave. Themes: survival, resilience, and the inhumanity of slavery. 12 Years a Slave is a film that explores the brutal realities of slavery and the resilience of the human spirit. Solomon Northup's journey is one of survival against unimaginable odds, as he endures physical and emotional abuse while never losing hope that he will one day regain his freedom. The film highlights the strength of those who were enslaved, while also portraying the dehumanizing nature of the institution of slavery. The film also touches on the moral complexities of complicity and guilt, as characters like Ford and Bass, who are more sympathetic to Solomon's plight, are still unable to fully challenge the system of slavery. The film asks viewers to confront the historical legacy of slavery and the ways in which individuals and institutions were complicit in its perpetuation. Closing thought: 12 Years a Slave, 2013, is a deeply moving and powerful film that tells the harrowing true story of Solomon Northup's abduction and enslavement. With its unflinching depiction of the horrors of slavery and its focus on the resilience and humanity of those who endured it, the film serves as both a tribute to the strength of the human spirit and a stark reminder of one of the darkest chapters in American history. Featuring outstanding performances by Chiwetel Ejiofor, Lupita Nyong'o, and Michael Fassbender, 12 Years a Slave is a film that leaves a lasting impact on its viewers, challenging them to reflect on the legacy of slavery and the fight for freedom and justice.